We're here in Cleenish Old Cemetery. We're on Cleenish Island. We're on the island that was termed as the Sloping Island, or the Beautiful Island as well. Some people described it as. It was where, in the mid-6th century, that Sinel, or Sinel, set up his monastic church and school. And he arrived here with 12 monks, and those monks were workers and teachers, because the school required him to have men of qualifications that taught various different subjects: mathematics, rhetoric, geometry, languages, and many other subjects as well. In 543, on the Wexford-Wicklow border, was born a young man with the name Columbanus, or Columban. And he arrived here when he was about 16 years of age. And he arrived here because of the fact that he was a very religious boy growing up, had been well educated at home, and he was being tempted by sin. And in order to escape that part of his life, he up sticks after speaking to an old religious woman who was housed in a cell, and she told him he had to leave the area. Columbanus decided that he would do that, but that he obviously had heard of Sinel, who arrived here really from Leinster, but had been taught at Clonard by St. Finian. And he came here because of the reputation of Sinel and the reputation of the monastery school that was here. He arrived walking, left the house walking, and the record, or the recorded records of the history of Columbanus tells us that he actually, his mother tried to stop him from leaving, and that he actually stepped over his mother or past his mother on the way out through the door and never looked back. Now, people say that was very hard to do, but this man, or young man, had decided that he needed to change his lifestyle. He needed to change where he was. And he walked most of the way, I would think. And some of my fellow people who are interested in this type of history thought that he probably travelled part of it on Lough Erne. And he arrived on the shore here to be met by Sinel and to be brought up to the church and to the school. And he stayed here for about 6 years, and he learned all different types, or he was given all different types of education that was available here. And he was very much into becoming a monk, but he didn't actually become a monk on this island. The history also tells us that he became a monk when he travelled from here after about 6 years and went to Bangor in County Down, where he stayed for quite a number of years as well. He then, after a period of time and after being refused 2 or 3 times, went on his own pilgrimage. He went from here across to the lower regions of England, round the corner, and headed for France. Went from France into parts of Germany, and then went on ahead then into Bobbio, which is the place that's associated with him mostly. But this island was like many other islands and churches on the shoreline all along our beautiful Lough Erne. It was here, it was for receiving visitors that were travelling on the route of St. Patrick, and we're going from here and we're heading towards Lough Derg. They would have got their food here, they would have got their accommodation here, they would have announced that they were coming here before they came, because they were travelling from place to place. All around us here we have Galoon, we have Ahalorher, we have Cleenish, we have Inishkeen Island, we have Liscool Abbey, we have Enniskillen Castle of the Maguires. All of those were places where given people who were pilgrims at that time were given sanctuary for nighttime, foodstuff and accommodation, and went on their journey and followed the route of St. Patrick all down along the main highway into Ulster, which is the River Erne. Further down, there was other places like Devonish, like Inishmacsaint, like White Island, and that was bringing them on towards the link with the Lough Erne and Donegal and their final destination of Lough Derg. Also here we see what's left of really the old ancient headstones from the graveyard and some of the old building stones as well. We have the cross on the stone here. We also have the head on the other stone here, and we also have uncovered here very recently really a marker stone which was prior to the carving of stones and the carving of names and stones. From the ancient times there were marks on the stones. So we have identified a mark stone here which we really only learned about this year at a conference to do with a gentleman who came here from England who was an expert with regard of the markings and stone markings in cemeteries and graveyards. This was robbed out, and the church was robbed out, and similar to other places like Galoon and like Ahalloher and here and in Inniskeen in particular, and further on down the lake as well in Devonish and down as far as White Island. All of those old churches that sometimes somebody took the stones away, they were used for rebuilding. The stones from here were brought and were used in the building of Nixon Hall, an old ancient building in Arney, which is just outside of Ballinalek. So that happened all the time. Also, the stones from here and Inniskeen were recorded in Trimble's history of Enniskillen as being used for the foundation stones for the military barracks in Enniskillen in 1790. So all during those time periods, all different types of stone from old monastic ruins and old monastic churches were all taken away at some time or other. So what we can see here really just looks like rubble really, but it is, and they are the ancient stones that were here from, some of them from the mid-6th century.